Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, a Merry Christmas 2016 to all of you guys watching the channel. I hope you've had a nice day with your family. I've had my girlfriend Michiko visiting me from Japan, and she's bought me a big stash of Japanese beers, which I'm definitely looking forward to. So we're going to kick off with these now, and as I've said to you before, I love trying Scotch ales from different countries. So for this one, we are going to return to Baird Beer for my third review, and this one is the Yabai Yabai Strong Scotch Ale. It comes in at 8%, rated 91 overall on Rate Beer and 89 within the style, so it should be pretty good. Baird Beer, of course, are one of the really quite well-known Japanese craft breweries, so definitely looking forward to this one. This is my third review from these guys, and I think my first darker beer that I'm trying from them as well. Really interested to see what their take on my kind of native beer style is. So I hope you guys enjoy the review, and as always, thank you for your support. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Baird Beer reviews I've done before. No doubt there will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beer from different countries, as well as my whiskey and sake reviews. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. Always interesting to hear from you guys, and the support is hugely appreciated. If you're particularly interested in Japanese beer, make sure you check out Casey and Eric's channel, Sotogami Akihabi. They're two nice American guys, my good friends over in Tokyo, who review a lot of Japanese beers, both in English and in Japanese. And also a special thank you to Koji at Liquor Store Asahiya in Taishibashi Imaichi, Osaka. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Baird Beer though. So Baird Beer are from Numazu in Shizuoka Prefecture near Mount Fuji in Japan. This is a city that's really known for the beautiful countryside and also for its hot springs as well. You should look up some photos of it because it really is quite picturesque. But the company is led by American Brian Baird along with his wife Sayuri, and it was founded back in the year 2000. So Brian had actually attended Johns Hopkins University and taken part in a Japan Studies program, and he did some work for an American firm in Tokyo. But while he was in Japan, he noticed that G beer, local beer, was actually getting much attention, and he'd always been interested in beer and brewing. So he later attended a brewing school in California, and he completed his apprenticeship at Red Hood Brewery in Seattle and Washington on the west coast of America. But they actually chose Numazu for the brewery because Brian's job with brewing equipment had taken him there, and he says that they now enjoy the soft waters of the area. And apparently much of the G beer in Japan really wasn't great, despite the fact that it was booming in the late 1990s. There was a lot of breweries opened and then shut down really in quite a short space of time. But Brian really wanted to introduce beers that were different and take the sort of American take on craft brewing to Japan, which they've actually done it quite successfully. But after their beers proved really popular in Numazu, they decided to expand the brewery and they started selling the beers in Tokyo. And really, they're probably one of the bigger craft breweries in Japan. I think maybe the biggest outside of the Hitachino Nest beers, which are brewed up in Ibaraki. These guys are probably the biggest craft brewery besides that, if I'm not mistaken. But they've now got several tap rooms, and this includes the original one at the Numazu Fish Market. They've also got the new brewery in Izu as well. They've got pubs in Shibuya. This is the Harajuku one, which does Japanese food. They've also got one in Meguro in Tokyo as well. This one's called Naka Meguro, and it does beer and pizza. And they also have one in Yokohama, which is called Bashamichi, which is an American slow grill. So if you get the chance, if you find yourself in Tokyo or in Yokohama, you can go and check them out. If you find that yourself in Numazu, of course, as well, as I say, very picturesque town near Mount Fuji. Michiko and I will probably go and check that out sometime. You can go and visit their original bar as well. I want to visit the one with the beer and pizza. That's probably the one that's right up my street. But these guys have got a big inventory of beers. Let me just read those out quickly for you. In the year-round range, they've got the Single Take Session, the Wheat King Wit, Suzenji Heritage Hellas, the Numazu Lager, Raising Sun Pale Ale, Wabi Sabi Japan Pale Ale, Red Rose Amber Ale, Angry Boy Brown Ale, Teikoku IPA, Suguru Imperial IPA. That's meant to be one of their most popular beers. They've got the Shimaguni Stout and also the Korofune Porter as well. So they've got a lot of different beers that you can check out. They've got a lot of seasonals as well. This one is one of the seasonal beers, of course, and they are rated really quite highly in a lot of the styles that they do. So if you get the chance, make sure you try some of the Baird beers. And these ones are appearing actually quite often throughout the different parts of the world. The ones that you've seen me review before, I reviewed one in Japan, and I had the Temple Garden Yuzu beer when I was in Sweden. Actually, that appeared in one of the small portiers in Systembolaget. But yeah, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself then. If, as I say, you can check out all the links in the description below if you want to learn a bit more about Baird Beer. But as you can see on this one, this is the kind of typical Baird Beer artwork. It's really nice actually. These guys have got some of the best beer artwork in Japan that you're going to find actually. There's the typical Baird Beer bottle cap on this one. I'll just tell you the specs of this beer. As I said to you, it's an 8% Scotch ale. It's hopped with US Warrior, Sterling, Willamette and Glacier, and it's got a malt base of Maris Otter, Amber, Caramel and chocolate malts with some roasted barley added in, and also some Japanese Korizato sugar. It's kind of a rock salty sugar, that one. And the yeast strain that's used in this one is their own kind of house Scottish ale yeast. And one thing I should point out about this video as well, I've never tried Glacier hops before, so we're always learning when we do beer reviews and beer tastings. So a little bit about the Glacier hop. The Glacier hop was bred in Washington in the year 2000. This one is a crossbreed of the French Alsacer, Brewer's Gold and Northern Brewer, and it's known to give you some kind of blackberry and plum aromas when you smell it. So it should be a really nice beer, this one. So without further ado then, let's get it open and we'll get on with the tasting then. So definitely looking forward to this one. As I say, I always enjoy trying the Scotch ales from different countries. You can see a nice bit of smoky opening on this one. You can smell a little bit of the chocolate on this beer as you open it up. I should point out as well that a lot of breweries kind of call Scotch ales wee heavies. That's a term that was coined by the Americans. That's something that's not really used here in Scotland. Of course, our beer styles that we have, they're kind of known for being distinctively, you know, a little bit roasted, kind of caramelly, a little bit of red fruit and a sort of bready kind of barley flavour. And they were always termed by the shilling system, which basically had 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90 shilling, and as you went up the shilling scale, basically it's a tax that was introduced for the alcohol content, and the beers got progressively more boozy and malty. And what's known as the wee heavier Scotch ale today is somewhere between the 80 and 90 shillings that we were used to here in Scotland. But as you can see with this beer, it's poured a really nice kind of dark mahogany, not quite chestnut colour, it's not quite red enough for chestnut, it's definitely a kind of nice dark mahogany colour, almost the same colour as the glass on the bottle there, but it looks absolutely lovely. I think it's fair to say that the beer does have a good bit of kind of opacity to it. It's not crystal clear. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there on this one. And the head, incidentally, is a nice kind of, I would say it's a sort of creamy beigey colour on this one, but it looks absolutely lovely. And you can really smell the chocolate off this one. It's not, usually the Scotch ales are a bit more kind of caramelly, roasty and toasty caramelly, but you can smell a good bit of the chocolate in this one. So let's take a closer look at the aroma on this one. Yeah, it really does. You can really smell a good bit of sweet chocolate on this one as you kind of, just on the front of the nose. Yeah, it really is quite chocolatey. It's definitely more chocolatey than the Scotch ales that I'm used to. But underneath that you can pick up some of the toasted caramel. There's a bit of darker brown sugar in there as well, you know, a sort of tree colour, molasses as the Americans would say. You can pick up a little bit of that in this beer, but there's a definite sort of brown bready note, a kind of almost barley note coming out of this beer. Doesn't smell quite like roasted barley actually, it does smell like a sort of brown bread thing. And of course that's another note that the Scotch ales are really quite well known for. And the hoppy side of this beer is interesting as well. There's a good bit of earthiness coming in there. But yeah, you can get a sort of, there's a slightly kind of floral character, but the earthiness and the chocolatey notes kind of suppress it quite a bit. But you can get a bit of floral character in this one. That's the Sterling and the Willamette coming out. And maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of a sort of herbal thing, but really that's very minimal. That'll be the Warrior. I always remember the Warrior hop giving you this kind of herbal element to your aroma. I'm just trying to pick up some of the fruits in the beer. But really, you can pick up a little bit of a kind of red fruity ester. For me it comes off as a kind of candied red fruit. It reminds me of those big strawberry sweets that you get from Haribo, or the little heart-shaped sweets that you get in the Star Mix. These kind of Haribo Star Mix shaped sweets. I'm not sure if you get those in Japan actually, so for those of you watching in Japan, it probably isn't such a good descriptor to kind of describe the beer as that. But yeah, a nice little bit of red fruity ester, but the beer really is dominated by a kind of dark, roasty, kind of caramel and molasses. I can smell a good bit of chocolate in there as well. As I was saying, and the earthy hop and a bit of the floral character and slightly herbal things coming out as well. But you can smell a little bit of that red fruity ester, and the berry, of course, like I said, the glacier hop should give you something of a kind of blackberry or plum, but to me it just smells more like a kind of candied fruit ester coming out of this one. But really interesting, as I say, as a beer reviewer, you're always learning new things, you're always learning new hops and things like this, so it's cool to encounter something new that I've not tried before, especially after 900 odd videos. But let's get stuck into this beer then. This is the Yabai Yabai Strong Scotch Ale from Baird Beer in Numazu over in Japan. Kampai, Merry Christmas. Slanje. That's interesting, that. That's quite nicely done. One of the things you always have to point out when you're reviewing Japanese beer, the Japanese definitely have a different palate from what we do in Europe or even what Americans do in things. And it's the Japanese beers have all the flavours you expect, but the mouthfeel is just a little bit different. Like for example, when you have an IPA and things, the mouthfeel, they always lean a bit more towards making it juicy, and that just suits what Japanese people are used to with their foods and things. Japanese food isn't really known for having a very kind of strong flavour, if you like, a lot of the time. It's more about how flavours blend together. And when it comes to the craft beers, you can really see when you try things like Baird or Shiga Kogen or Fujizakura Heights, when you try these Japanese craft beers, you do notice that kind of approach to the flavour profiles of the beer. But this one kind of takes in that light as well. This is really nice actually. So the middle of the palate is actually, the thing you'll notice about this beer as well, it's actually quite light in mouthfeel for a Scotch ale, I think. And that's probably the kind of mountainous water from the area. That'll be the nice minerals and the sort of soft water in that area. But that's really nice. I love the malt base in this one actually. They've got a kind of really nice balance between the Scottish characteristics of the style. As I've always said, the Scotch ales you get here in Scotland tend to be a bit more bready and roasty than the ones in America. The ones in America are always big and boozy and sort of caramel and kind of caramelly, sugary sort of things. But it's interesting to see this one kind of meets somewhere in the middle. So yeah, the middle of your palate, you've got a really nice smoothness to the malt base in this one. You've got this sort of brown bready character that goes right across the middle of your tongue. There's a bit of almost that kind of barley sort of brown bready flavour that you expect of a Scotch ale. That just goes right across the middle of your tongue. There's a wee bit of a kind of sweet caramel in there, but it's actually quite dark and toasted. It's almost a kind of really dark treacle molasses thing right in the middle of your palate. It definitely, the sweeter side of the beer really leans more towards that kind of darker brown sugar, the treacle molasses, than it does to the sweeter side of things. You can really notice the sort of the kind of roasted barley element in this one as well. You can just feel that little bit of roasted character as you move out towards the edge of the palate there. But this one really is quite nice. There's almost a kind of cakey flavour to this beer as well, which is quite interesting. A kind of dark, like rum cake or something like that. But this is really nicely done. It's actually quite different from any of the other Scotch ales I've come across before. This one's really interesting. But it does have a good bit of booziness to it. 8% of course is a bit light for some of the Scotch ales that you'll come across. It's a kind of standard one, but in comparison to some of the American Scotch ales, 8% is quite light. But this is kind of, 8% probably is about normal for what you'd find a Scottish Scotch ale to be. But the hoppy side of this beer is interesting as well. So in the back corners of your palate, you've got a bit of earthiness, and that kind of spreads as you come further forward. You can feel a little bit of floral character. It is very, very smooth floral character, and there's a little bit of herbal thing in there as well. And as you go round the front curve of the palate, maybe it's just a little bit grassy, but on the sides of your palate really is where all the hop character is, and it's dominated by the earthiness, and there's just a little bit of floral and grassy character in there as well. You can taste a little bit of that kind of Japanese kind of rock candy sugar that's in this one as well, the Korizato sugar. It's a very distinctive flavour. That is something that's very hard to describe. You really just need to try it and see what I mean, because it's not quite the same as the kind of rock candy that you'll get in Scotland or in England or anything like that. It's really just something kind of on its own that's completely known to itself. But you can taste a little bit of that. If you just go behind the front curve of your palate, you get the little oily bubble, and that's where all these fruity notes come out. I can actually get a little bit of the blackberry flavour in this one. You can feel that in this beer. That, of course, like I said, was from the Glacier hop. You can pick that up. But there's also a good bit of figgy character coming out of this one, and some of these red candied fruit esters. So, as I say, just pay a little bit of attention to that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue, and that's where these fruity notes will come out. But this beer, as I say, it takes the kind of typical Japanese approach of how flavours blend together rather than having something that really is quite punchy and sticks out. And that's what I like about it. I always like trying Japanese beers because they just have a completely different feel to American things, or the ones that we get in Europe. But this is nice. The flavour, as I say, that kind of bready and sort of barley character in this one really sticks out. It comes across, it's far more chocolatey in the aroma than it is in the flavour for me. Really, the flavour is dominated by the kind of barley, sort of brown bready characters, the roasted barley notes as well, and then the earthy and sort of herbal things from the hop, and the fruity character starts to come out a little bit more just towards the middle of the beer, and then the aftertaste is that it's the toasted grains, the bready character, and a little bit of the earthy hop. But overall, it's another very, very solid beer from Baird Beer. Actually quite different from the Scotch ales you're going to find in America, probably a bit closer to the ones that you're going to find here in Scotland. So that's what I like, because as I say, I think you have to find the middle ground. For me, the perfect Scotch ale is somewhere in the middle. It's got some of the kind of traditional character that we know in Scotland, and also some of the kind of sweeter character that you get from America. This one does lean a little bit more towards the Scottish side of things than the sweeter American Scotch ales, but it's another really good beer from Baird, and you know, it's what you'd expect from these guys. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say this one is probably mid-bodied, but in terms of a Scotch ale, from what I'm used to, it is actually a little bit lighter, and that's the water that's giving it that. It's got a little bit of an oily mouthfeel, this one, but at the same time it is quite wet. You've got a good little bit of bitterness from the hops, but overall they are quite smooth. The malt base has a little bit of sweetness, but really it's more toasted and a little bit roasted. There is a little bit of dryness there, and like I said, you've got some fruity, juicy character in this one as well. But really, the summary of this beer review, a really, really good beer that you definitely should try for yourself. 8% alcohol. It's not got that much alcohol warmth to it in comparison to some of the Scotch ales you get, mainly the American ones, but in terms of the Scottish ones, it really kind of suits the bill. As I say, this one really does lean more towards the kind of traditional Scottish element, and that's probably why I've kind of enjoyed it so much. So yeah, really cool to try a Scotch ale from another country. This was my first one that I've tried from Japan. Hopefully some other breweries over there do try this. I think Baird are the only ones who brew this style at the moment, so but as I say, always cool to try Scotch ales from different countries. I've tried ones from Brazil, I've tried ones from America, I've tried ones from, I think I've had one from Sweden now as well. I've had ones from France, I think, too. I've had ones from all over the place, but really cool to try a Scotch ale from a different country. Baird Beer, like I said, are one of the best known Japanese craft breweries, so basically pick a style of beer that you personally enjoy from these guys, and I'm pretty sure you'll like it. It's always, these guys kind of take these American beer styles and put the Japanese sort of feel into them, so they're a very interesting company to try, especially because they've got the American brewmaster there. So yeah, really cool to try another beer from Baird Beer. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. As always, do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys. Make sure you check out all the usual social media. Try some of the Baird beers if you get the chance, and make sure you check out Koji's store in Taishibashi Machi in Osaka, and also Casey and Eric's channel Sotogami Akihabir. You'll see more Japanese beer reviews over the next little while. Thank you for watching, and once again, a Merry Christmas 2016. The Yabai Yabai Strong Scotch Ale from Baird Brewing Company in Numazu near Mount Fuji in Japan. Kanpai, Merry Christmas guys. Cheers.